I run an organization, Girls for Change, and young girls in the program actually started the Date with Dad or Dance in the Jail. So I've known about it forever.
Since before it began.
Yes, before it began.
Yeah.
And so it actually is an idea that resonated from young girls, which is exactly what we wanted to show in the film. Not only the vulnerability of the girls, but really amplifying their voices and really elevating their idea to connect with their own fathers on their own terms, however they want it. And we just kind of followed lead. And how it became a film was I had an opportunity to do a TED Talk at TED Women. And after that TED Talk, which I wasn't even like aware of how big it would be, until Natalie approached me, and Natalie just made it real about there's another way that we can actually amplify the girls' voices and tell their story and making sure that it was from them. So that's how we came together.
Totally. And the TED Talk is so powerful, and one of my best friends shared it with me like over 8 years ago, and it just hit me like lightning. Like I kept on watching it, it brought me to tears. It made me think about my own father and the need to heal and connect with him to have the future that I want. It made me know the power of dance and touch. I spent my life in dance and music, and so imagining what that could do in a space with fathers and daughters, I also could feel so deeply. And it's just such a beautiful example of when we listen to young women, how the world can change. So,
and you know, the story that you're telling is sort of naturally compelling, but it does come with some logistical challenges. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the process of getting access to the counseling sessions within the jails, because I assume that required conversations with the DC jail system and sort of the powers that be. And I would be curious to hear kind of how you facilitated that level of intimacy.
The young girls came to me in the program and said they wanted to facilitate their own dance in the jail. They wrote a letter to the sheriff in Richmond, Virginia. And Sheriff Whitty was actually the first sheriff who felt that it was the answer for the prison system. Because he said, when families are connected to each other while they're doing time, most likely they will not return. And he saw this as a recidivism type of program, but at the same time, he didn't know what it looked like either. Like, I didn't. We just like, let's just trust the process of these young girls who had this amazing idea. And I did not know at that time if the sheriff would allow us in, but he met with the girls, not just with me. He invited the young girls in and said, tell me your vision. And he heard them. And it was not just the dance in the jail. It really was like how it was going to look. Like, these are the colors. Can we decorate? We don't want to hide this vending machine. It's ugly. Get it out of here. And he allowed them to just take over the space. And when the sheriff and I decided that it was a good idea and I would support the girls, that's when we discuss how would this look for the fathers. And I reached out to Chad because Chad already had a father responsibility program and asked him to come in and lead this workshop with the fathers first, because we understood that it had to be more than a dance. So Chad also trusted the process as well and understood that these were dads that he would be working with that were not in the community, but actually were behind bars. And what would it look like when they had to leave again and not see their daughters for maybe weeks or months, maybe years at a time after experiencing this. And we came together and actually created the curriculum.
I always believe in the process of showing up authentically. So in that room, a camera is nothing but a mirror. It's only a mirror to reflect what's already going on. We didn't pay a lot of attention to the cameras because the way the conversations evolve, intentionally evolve, they very much challenge a person to think about what it is that they're doing. While they're outwardly gauging the room, these men, some of these men, that not just in this particular program, but to speak about the men in this film, a lot of them knew each other, some of them didn't, and none of them knew me. I'm gonna show up the same way, and what it's about is trying to engage them in a way when they're already aware of the process, they're already aware they haven't seen their children in some time. They're being enrolled and asked to participate in an opportunity to be able to see your child in a space where for 6 hours you're not in jail, you're not in prison. And most of these men will jump at that opportunity, which is what put them in the room. They answered the questions correctly, but when they show up, it comes back into, I don't know who this guy is. What are you about to talk to me about? And I show up with a smile the same way, because I don't know you either, but we're gonna get through this process together. The cameras were secondary to their love for their children, far down the line. But being able to look back at it after the film was completed, I think it told the story in a very clear way.
You can have a DP and a crew that's very disruptive. So it takes a very specific kind of cinema verite shooting, a knowledge of how to be in the room and be invisible, and it takes the ability to gain the trust of your subjects. And that is really also a testament to our filmmakers, that they took their responsibility to be both trustworthy and invisible very seriously. And our DP actually shared, we were talking earlier about the fact that our DP actually had a parent who was incarcerated. So was coming at the project really wanting to be on the inside of the emotions of all of these folks.
Aubrey, did you like being on camera at first, or did you sort of need the filmmakers to sort of do certain things to help you feel comfortable with cameras following you around? Because you really grew up in the course of this movie.
Well, at first, I was kind of nervous being on camera, but eventually I warmed up to it, and now I'm not really that nervous to be on camera anymore, but it's just like I haven't been on camera in like a long time, so I kind of, went backwards.
Mark, what about you? Did you have any sort of concerns about cameras, following you around or getting in your thoughts?
No, because like Chad said, it wasn't even about the cameras. It was just about us sitting in a group. Like he said, we didn't know him from a can of paint, he didn't know us, and us trusting him for us to have a safe space. And he made us feel like, we had a safe space to talk about certain things. And I feel like he was the perfect man for the job, because experience is the best teacher. So what he was telling us, that what he wanted for us is also what he wanted for his own daughters too.
Kerry, how did you become involved in the process? Sort of at what stage, and what initially grabbed you about it?
Yeah, so I was not a part of this beautiful 8-year journey of making the film. I've been able to join the party later in the process, and I'm really excited to join the team because I get to be an ambassador for this film and a cheerleader, and to stand behind the film and support it in marketing and in communicating the ideas of the film. At my company, Simpson Street, we've been working in these themes for several years, but also because I grew up in a community where I was really blessed to have a dad who was present and with me. I talk about it a lot in my memoir. My dad got into legal trouble, but we were really lucky that he was able to avoid incarceration. And at my school, because I went to a really fancy school on the other side of New York in Manhattan that was a very elite private school, and there was a father-daughter dance, and I saw that in some communities, this is done. In some communities, family is fostered and championed and encouraged, and fathers are taught to have intimacy with their daughters in beautiful, appropriate, gorgeous, loving ways. And in other communities, you're not allowed to touch your kid, you're not allowed to talk to them without paying for it, you have to talk through a screen. So these systems are really unjust, and that hit home for me, and I thought the documentary does such a beautiful job of kind of taking ideas and themes that I've been working with for a long time, but diving deeper into the truth of how these systems impact these families and these amazing young women.
Mark and Aubrey, I'm curious what your reaction was the first time you saw it, because you do have to confront difficult moments in your life being shown back to you. Aubrey, what was your reaction the first time that you watched the film?
So at first when I was watching the film, I was like so surprised to see me. Like I forgot that I was really in the film, but when I actually saw myself, I was like, oh my, is that me? And I was so happy to see myself, but towards the end, I got like kind of sad because, talking about my dad, and like, I don't know, it's kind of personal. So like, it's like between happy and sad, between that.
That makes so much sense. Are you able to know how cute you are in the film? Are you able to take that in?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah. And it's interesting because I think one of my prayers for you in this process is that that you see that the parts of the film that make you sad are the parts of the film that also other people feel like they can connect with you because they identify, because they have those same feelings. Because I think sometimes we realize that when we let people into our sadness, we can feel less alone. Because I know your courage to show that part of your journey helps so many people when they watch the film to feel less alone, because you're so brave to let us into that part of your life. So I hope you feel that.
I definitely feel it.
When I finally watched it, it like rekindled something in me about leaving the dance, because everybody know we was incarcerated during the dance. It didn't look like, because we put on suits and tie. You know, he told me how to tie a tattoo, so let me just put that in there. But, you know, it just made me remember how I felt when my daughter left and what she told me before she left, like, I don't want to see you in here no more. And when I seen that, when I first watched the film and I seen that, you know, I didn't want to cry. I didn't cry. I didn't want to cry, especially in front of my daughter, because, you know, she think I'm her hero. So it just rekindled something in me, like, damn, I've been doing good for 3 years. Let me make it another 3 years.
Yes.
Because like I said, it was at a point in time, I couldn't stay home for 90 days without catching another charge. And now it's been 6 years since I caught another charge, you know, and it's because of everybody that's in this room right now, you know, and so it definitely changed my life.